Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Tuesday version of Today in Sports Betting. Today, we're going to take a look at the midweek UFC card coming to you from Fight Island over there in Abu Dhabi. And we're going to take a look with we're going to have Winning Willie on to take a look with us, and Winning Willie appears to be down for the count today. We were unable to roust him out of his warm, snuggly bed down there in Mississippi, so we're going to run just me and my partner here, and you know him, you love him, you know who he is, and he's coming off a fine UFC performance. You couldn't really ask for a much better night than was had by Mr. Scott Reichel. Scott, you ready to keep the magic going?
Something like that. I'm aware that this card, I'd say, isn't as deep as the card that we had over the weekend, because having 3 title fights in one card is almost unheard of. I believe it's happened maybe 5 times in UFC history, so It's not something that you're usually accustomed to. We go from 3 title fights to 0, but the card hopefully will still be entertaining. And once again, let's be real. What else are you gonna be watching on Wednesday night?
The NASCAR All-Star Race?
Potentially, that's an option. You might switch over in between, but I think you can agree that for the most part, ESPN actually has some sports to show on television, and I think people will be watching this. So. Well, hopefully it lives up to the ratings that it should be getting.
All right. So this isn't the world's most attractive card. We're probably not going to spend a ton of time on every fight. Just kind of go through and hit some of the highlights. And of course, in keeping with that tradition, the first fight of the evening, as you and I were doing show prep here, actually got canceled.
And it was my first play. It was one of the most confident plays I had on the card, and it's now it's pixie dust. So
one of your favorite plays.
Yep, it was Kenneth Berg. I liked him by submission over Jorge Gonzalez, which I believe was at plus 240 by submission on FanDuel. And Berg had some issues with regard to weight cuts, so he got sick and he had some complications, and they pulled the plug. So the first fight on the card is now non-existent, and now as a result, you have one less fight to bet on. Still 11 though, so you still have a decent amount of options. But, of course, at least from what I learned in school, 12 is bigger than 11. So I'm going to have to make some adjustments.
All right, so let's start off here. We've got a fight here between Jack the Tank Shore and Aaron the Model Phillips.
I don't think that's really the nickname you want as a fighter, but, it's whatever floats your boat.
Looks like the Tank's making his UFC debut, and going up against a guy that, for his weight class, has a fair amount of power. He's won 50% of his bouts by knockout. Has the Model, as you would, you would not really expect that. So, what do you got to play here, buddy?
For me, yes. First of all, Jack Shore is projected to destroy this guy. These odds are in the same boat as Rebus and Van Zandt over the weekend. I mean, this is projected to be an absolute destruction, and people think that Shore is just going to run over this guy. And that Phillips just has nothing in store for him. And at first glance, when I was actually looking at both fighters, I actually thought that I didn't really understand the line too much. I thought this line was a little bit excessive. I did agree that I thought Shore should be favored, but I really didn't think Shore should be minus 650.
Right.
But in reality, the more that I looked into it, the more that I just think Shore is going to become an actual, I don't want to say contender because it's a little bit premature, but at 25 years old, this guy could be a potential championship candidate in the bantamweight division in a couple of years. So I think that he's going to run through Phillips. So I'm not going to immediately go by him inside the distance, which is minus 162 or any of these huge minuses. But I did find one custom bet on Fox Bet, which I do like, and it is going to be on Shore to win the fight in either round 1 or round 2 at minus 118 on Fox Bet, and that's going to be where I'm going with this. I think Shore's going to win inside the distance. I think he's going to dominate, and rounds 1 or 2 minus 118 seems about right to me. If you want to go through in comparison, if you want to look at the over-under, the under 2.5 rounds is minus 200. So you're giving me minus 118 on the favorite to win within the first 2 rounds. I'll take that to the bank.
Yeah, I agree. And, Phillips hasn't fought in 6 years in the UFC after making his debut in 2014, in which he Fought 2 fights and lost them both. So, yeah, it's interesting that they've kind of had to scramble a little bit. The COVID has kind of wreaked havoc with this card just a little bit. And Jack Phillips is kind of a late. Aaron Phillips is the late replacement in this one. So, yeah, I like your play there. I don't think that I can't imagine after 6 years away that a never was there in the UFC is going to have much for this youngster, even though he's making his debut. There's a lot to like.
Well, the thing about Phillips is that, yeah, he hasn't fought in the UFC since in a long time. Plus, he's on a short notice. And I'm pretty sure Jack Shore was the champion at this weight class in the Cage Warriors League. So he already has a championship in another league. I know that the UFC is significantly harder usually in terms of competition. I don't think a short notice fighter who hasn't fought in the UFC in a long period of time counts as that. So I think Shore's just going to run through him. But at the same point, you could take him in round 1. You could take him in all this other stuff. But when you're betting on guys to win in the first round at 135 pounds, I'm a little bit skeptical on that one.
Right.
First 2 rounds, 7 submission wins, 4 knockouts. I think a submission is definitely a possibility. But minus 118, that looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, this is a fight that was originally supposed to go to Anderson Dos Santos, and he tested positive for the COVID. So, yeah, that's enter Phillips and exit Phillips rather quickly. I like to play there. All right, so what do you got? What do you got next? What's the next fight that you like?
So we might be jumping around a little bit because there's a lot of fights on this card that I had either lukewarm opinions about or no opinion about at all. I'm skipping the next 3 fights. If you want to just go based on plays, if you want to, we can go back and talk about them later. But I'm looking at the Ricardo Ramos and the Lerone Murphy fight. And in this one, I actually think there's some value on the underdog here. And I like Murphy by decision at plus 320 on FanDuel. Simply put, Ramos is 14-2. I understand why people like him. He's a pretty solid fighter. But if you want to actually break down his strength of schedule, so to speak, really not that impressive. I know he's been in the UFC since 2017, and he is 6-1 since joining. But in reality, he really hasn't fought anybody that's impressed me. He beat Journey Newsom. Okay, I guess. His last fight, he beat Garagori by first-round submission. Garagoli's okay, I guess. I don't really think he's that great of a fighter. But even though he has a lot of wins, it seems like they're really against, I'd say, mediocre competition, where Murphy is going to be making his UFC debut. He ended up tying in a 3-round split draw, which is almost impossible to come by because, I mean, that involves at least 10-8 rounds, etc. 3-round draws in the UFC, very unlikely. But if you look at who the draw came against, it came up against this guy named Tughugov, who is from Chechnya, 19-4. I mean, you tie to a guy who's 19-4. I don't think there's any shame in that one. Murphy's also a little bit taller. I think that he has the ability to showcase some power with his height advantage. And even though Ramos is a pretty good fighter, that resume really just doesn't showcase much to me. And I think Murphy by decision at plus 320 is a pretty good value play there. So that's going to be my second play.
All right, very good indeed. Nothing from the women there, Scott.
I'm skipping a couple of fights here and there, but from the women, no. Of course, based on pretty much every women's fight in the betting markets, it's projected to go to a decision. Who would have thought? Not really interested in that fight. If I had to lean anywhere, I'd lean to Diana, but not really that interested. I feel like that fight is probably going to go to a decision. Diana by decision was roughly plus 125. I'm gaining roughly $1 of value there and not really that interested there. So for me, I'm going to pass on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I think the definite play there would be some sort of over, and that's put it together with who you think the fighter is going to be. Because yeah, like you said, there's no value in betting the over 2.5 at minus 220. So as we always talk about, try to envision the most likely outcome and kind of put those two things together. So whatever fighter you think will win this fight. Of course, Diana Belpita is the massive favorite. Well, not a massive favorite, minus 175, a fair favorite. So against
That's the thing though for comparison. Like on one hand, you're looking at for example, the Murphy fight. The fight to go the distance is minus 175. Yet I can get the underdog to win by decision at plus 320. Where if you take Diana, for example, who's minus 175 as a favorite, I know one's an underdog and one's a favorite in these examples, but you're just looking at it. Diana is plus 125 by decision. Ramos, who is minus 150, is plus 150 by decision there. I mean, you're comparing roughly a $2 edge to a $1 edge. I'm not really interested in the $1 edge.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right. What else you got cooking?
So after the Murphy fight, it's going to be a newcomer. This one's going to be my first long shot prop on the card. I have 2 long shot props. Maybe the fight after this one. And it's going to be on the John Phillips versus Khamzat Chimaev. And I'm actually going to be looking at Chimaev by second round submission, kind of going very specific here. But that is going to be available at plus 650 on FanDuel. Simply put, Chimaev to win by submissions minus 120. So it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's just going to absolutely choke this guy out, and there's nothing really Phillips can do about it. 3 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. But he's won 2 of his last 3 by submission before making his UFC debut. Where if you want to look at Phillips, Phillips has had a massive Achilles heel when it comes to submission defense, as Phillips has lost 9 times in his career, with 5 of those losses coming by submission. Submission minus 120, no value there for me. First round submissions roughly plus 190. Second round submissions plus 650. I'll take roughly the $4.50 jump there. So for value alone, I'll take the guy who's favored to win by submission at a minus price in the second round by his preferred outcome at plus 650. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's very solid.
I just need 5 minutes. I just need Phillips to get through 5 minutes without being unconscious. I know it's asking a decent amount, but there's no way I can take plus 195 submission in the first round compared to second round for an extra roughly $4.50.
I think that's certainly a good shot. That's good logic that he slips through, is able to beat the bell in the first round and runs out of luck there in the second round as he continues to lean on him and wear him down and ultimately take care of business there by submission. Yeah, I think that's possible that it doesn't get him flipped at all in the first round, but he does take its toll from a stamina standpoint and is able to get that submission in the second.
Yeah, it's for half a unit. Just in reality, if somebody's a minus price to win by an outcome, and you can get that person by that outcome at plus 650 in any capacity, I feel like you kind of have to at least take a shot.
Yep. I think that's a solid strategy. And you're talking about taking 2 minus bets and putting them together and basically turn it into a positive EV. And I like it. That's a solid play for me. I'll go along with you there. Okay. Got anything else from the prelim card, Scott?
From the prelim card, no. The last 2 plays I have are going to be on the main event card. If you want to, we can circle back, talk about my leans on the other fights that we skipped. But in terms of other plays, this one I actually added once again, taking a long shot value play. And it's going to be on Abdul Razak Al-Hazan and in his fight against Monir Lazez. Now, Abdul's had a pretty interesting past couple of years. He kind of went off the grid a little bit. He had a knockout victory against Nico Price, pretty solid fighter, in 43 seconds back in September of 2018. And he ended up actually getting accused of sexual assault, and the trial concluded after 2 years, and he was found not guilty. So he was able to resume his UFC career as a result. He talked about being massively depressed and contemplating suicide and stuff like that during the whole proceedings of the court because he claimed he didn't do anything wrong, and apparently, according to the courts, he didn't do anything wrong. So it's nice to see him potentially getting his life back on track. But for this fight, he is projected to absolutely demolish this dude. He's minus 333 to win the fight. He's minus 213 to win by knockout and he's plus 100 to win in the first round. So people think Abdul is just going to absolutely destroy this guy in 5 minutes or less. So for me, fight to end within 60 seconds, plus 800, I think that's worth a shot for me. I know that sounds crazy because 60 seconds, usually have a feeling out process, whatever. The guy's even money to win in the first round. He won his last fight in 43 seconds, and he's coming off of a layoff where he should be very motivated to put in against a very solid performance because he finally got his life back together and now he's against a much inferior opponent. 60 seconds plus 800, I'll take half a unit on that.
Okay. All right, that's a nice hit. That's one of those kind of hits where if you hit just one of those, kind of makes your night. Just about guarantees you a positive night. So
I don't know what the odds are, but if you want to look at Abdul's numbers here, he's won each of his last 3 fights in the first round. In fact, fun fact, you know how many fights he's had that's gone out of the first round?
3.
1.
Wow.
10 of his 11 fights have ended in the first round, and the one that did not, he lost by split decision. But if you want to actually look at the breakdowns here, I know some of these were in Bellator, which is inferior competition. 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 5 wins in his career within the first minute, and I can get that at plus 800. And it doesn't even have to be him. Hypothetically, if he loses by miracle knockout, I still win. So first 60 seconds plus 800, I'll take that to the bank for a value play.
So you just need a decision either way in the first 60 seconds.
I need somebody to get knocked unconscious as quickly as possible, which most likely will be Abdul. But he's minus 213 to win by knockout. He's plus 100 to win in the first round, and he's 5 wins within the first minute. So I can get that at plus 800. I feel like that's worth a sprinkle bare minimum.
Is it knockout only, or is it the fight ends?
It's anything, but in reality, if you want to look at Abdul's numbers, he has 10 wins all by knockout.
Right.
I really think there's many alternatives here.
Okay.
But I think you can agree plus 800 there. You're turning a minus 213 or a plus 100 into potentially a plus 800 there. I know you lose 4 minutes, but based on the lines, I think you'll agree Abdul's supposed to kill this guy.
Yep.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on the plus 800?
No, I think that's a good play. I always like to take a little spin somewhere in that range to just kind of, like you said, it's a night changer if you hit one of those. Just about guarantees your profit. And yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome. I think that's the best fight to take that in. That is the one that's most likely to end early. So
Abdul's going to win by knockout. I mean, it's minus 213. So I figured, why not at least take a shot? Because apparently the odds makers either think that Abdul is some ridiculous fighter who, had his career sidetracked, or they really just think Lazzez, who's a 9-1, by the way, in his career, so it's not like he's a slouch or anything. They just think that Abdul's going to kill the guy, and I got to assume that the odds makers know something.
You're going to be pretty motivated too.
That's what I'm saying. So I think he'll come out and he'll just guns blazing.
Okay. All right. Let's take Alhazan then to win, or the fight to win the end in the first 60 seconds.
Yep. Plus 800.
Okay. Good. What else you got?
So my last pick is going to be on the main event, and it will be between Dan Ige and Calvin Kattar. And I'll tell you what, I like Ige. I've backed him on numerous occasions. I'm pretty sure I backed him in each of his last 3 or 4 fights, and he's won every time. So I personally have had a good track record betting on him. Having said that, this is a terrible matchup for Ige. Kattar is just – I got my own nickname for him. He's called the Boston Finisher. I call him the Killer Kattar. I think he's a tremendous fighter. I think that should be his nickname. I think that's – I made it up, but I think that sounds pretty good. But Kattar is just – he's so good. I know that he's lost one of his last 2 fights to Zabit, who's arguably the best fighter in that weight class. But you might remember his massive – hideous-looking elbow on Jeremy Stevens, which caused his head to basically explode roughly, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Right.
So, plus, he has the knockout power. He has 11 wins by knockout. He's 5'11". Ige is significantly shorter. Ige is roughly 5'7". So you're looking at a 4-inch height advantage for Kattar. Kattar has a ton of power. Kattar's also a borderline title contender here. And Ige had a very debatable decision victory over Barboza, which a lot of people thought was controversial. It's 5 rounds. Kattar win by knockouts, roughly minus 115 everywhere you look. However, Fox Bet does have a bet boost on Kattar inside the distance at plus 115. So for me, I'll take Kattar inside the distance plus 115 at Fox Bet, and I think he'll win by knockout, probably around the 3rd round.
Yeah, this is just stylistically, like you said, it's just not a good matchup for Ige. It's a guy that likes to take it to the ground, and I don't think Kattar is going to allow that to happen. And Kattar was actually a pretty good wrestler back in high school. He does know how to wrestle.
He's got the defense for it.
And yeah, he's got great takedown defenses. Takedown defenses upwards of 70%. But man, this guy can throw the strikes. He's 5.25 significant strikes a minute, and
that height advantage plays such a factor, especially if Ige plans on wrestling, which I think he will try to do.
Right.
Especially after Barboza, who's one of the best kickboxers in the UFC. I don't want to say exposed them, but he had a lot of success in the stand-up. I have to assume that with that size disparity, Ige is going to try to get inside, and he's just going to keep walking into the pocket, and Kattar's going to clock him. That would be my assumption if I had to guess how this fight's going to go. I hope it's going to be entertaining, but Kattar's just on another level for me.
Yep, I agree. And that's a 4 of you. I think you touched on it briefly. 4 of Kattar's last 5 fights are knockouts. So Ige's best chance.
4 of his last 5 wins have been by. 4 of his last 6 fights have been by knockout, actually. But he had 2 decision losses. One was to Zabit, who's arguably the best fighter in the entire weight class, as Zabit is another one of those future champion from Dagestan. He's 18-1. You lose by decision to an 18-1 guy, I'm not going to hold it against you. Kattar tends to just destroy people. So that's how I expect this fight to go.
Okay. I've got to play on the penultimate fight there, the co-main event, if you will, or the between Tim Elliott and Ryan Benoit.
What an underwhelming second main event. That is
it really is. A couple guys that just haven't fought well lately. Elliott's lost his last 3.
I was leaning Benoit money line, but I didn't pull a trigger there.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna go with Elliott here, just based on the fact that he is his losses have come against better competition. He lost to number 1 contender Figueiredo. He lost to Askarov, and he lost to number 11 Brandon Royval. And then, of course, back in 2016, lost to the legendary Demetrius Johnson. So he's got plenty of experience against dangerous fighters. And Benoit, again, another cold fighter. He's coming off a loss, has just 2 wins in his last fights.
They're both not good. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I'm going to take a spin with the guy with a little more experience against the good fighters here. I'm going to take Tim Elliott and lay that short price at minus 124.
Fair enough. I looked into it briefly. I saw the thing, and I had to triple check my computer to make sure that it was actually the second main event, because that is just so bad. That is such a terrible fight to lead up to the main event. It was a matter of I understand why Elliott is favored, especially since most of his recent losses have come by submission, and Benoit is basically just no threat at all to win by submission. So I can understand that. I don't know. Elliott's one of those guys who seems like he's doing decently, and then he'll just do something stupid. I just don't think his fight IQ is that high. I'm passing, but for minus 125, I understand it. No way I'm playing that fight. I don't like either fighter at all. So for me, I'm skipping that one.
Okay. All right. And that's really –
those are really all my plays. I don't know if you want to circle back to some of the other fights just for leans purposes.
Yeah, if you want to, that's great. Because that's really all that I had. I didn't find a ton to get excited about on this card.
I don't know why the Elliott Benoit fight is after the Rivera Stamen fight. I think that is insane. I think you should easily flip those. Rivera and Stamen are both really good.
Yeah, you got your number 8 and a 9 contender going against each other.
Yeah, I don't know why they're before the Elliott fight, but screw it. I guess, I'm not in charge of the scheduling. For that fight, though, It's really tough because I am a big fan of Stamann, and I had money on him in his last fight by decision against Kelleher. He's the one who had his brother pass away, and he kind of broke down in the octagon after. If I really had to lean anywhere in this fight, though, I would have to lean Rivera decision. I didn't like the price. It's a small plus price there. Rivera has 22 wins, 4 losses, so 26 total fights. 19 of those fights have gone to decision, and he's 16-3. Where Stamann has a 19-2 record for 21 total fights, and 12 of them have gone to decision. So this fight's projected to go to a decision. It's a huge minus price for it to go to a decision. Rivera has lost 3 of his last 4. However, if you look at who he's been up against, that is as brutal of a resume as you'll find. He lost to Peter Yan by unanimous decision, currently the champion. He lost to Sterling, who's currently the number 1 contender for the championship, who will be fighting against Yan next for the belt. And he lost by knockout to Marias, and Marias was the former champion of the division. And he won a fight in the middle against longtime veteran John Dodson. So Rivera's lost 3 of his last 4. You lose to roughly 3 of the best fighters in the entire weight class. I have to give Rivera a bit of a pass there. I think Rivera should win. However, there is a massive size disadvantage for Rivera, who's 5'4", and Stamann is 5'7". But I'll lean to Rivera. He's fought the significantly harder competition, and I think Rivera should win by decision. This fight will be very close, though. Look for the live odds. Maybe you can find some odds on Stamann to win by decision if you want a potential underdog with some extra value. But I would lean Rivera by decision. I think that fight should be very close.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see the I like Rivera to go the distance there. I think that's
I like Rivera by decision. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. I'm the same way. What are you picking it up at? I got it at plus 120. What do you got?
I believe I saw plus 125 on Fox Bet, but looking through, I see plus 120 as well.
Yeah, that's the play. And having gone through this one, I probably like this one.
This is a lean for me. This isn't an official play.
I probably like it as well as the Benoit Elliott fight. If I'm being honest, both guys that are coming off of tough competition and looking for that to show through. So I think, to me, in a lot of ways, it's a very similar fight. Better fighters, I think, all the way around. But I'll take Rivera, who's listed at minus 140. I'll take him in a decision to turn that frown upside down, as we say, turn it from a negative into a positive.
Yeah, I mean, that fight's projected to go the distance, but if you break it down, Stamann also fought against Sterling. Rivera lost by decision. Stamann lost by second-round submission. Stamann had a draw against Yidong Song. He beat Brian Kelleher by decision, and Kelleher took the fight, I don't want to say on short notice, but after fighting roughly, 2-3 weeks prior. So I don't know if he had a full camp to prepare for the fight. But Rivera's resume is just so much better. I have to lean to the pedigree on that
one. Yep, I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that one. Okay, what else you got for leans? Excuse me.
If I had to lean anywhere, I'd probably lean to Modestas Bukauskas. Looking through the actual breakdown, I have no interest because I didn't see much value on it. But according to most of the odds, seems like Bukauskas is basically just going to win the fight. It seems, I don't want to say a foregone conclusion, but it seems like he is projected to, do some pretty good damage at minus 225. However, if you actually break down Bukauskas inside the distance, he's at minus 105. You can get him by knockout, also minus 105. So for that reason, inside the distance at minus 105, I guess that's decent. I'm not going to take it, but I assume he'll probably win inside the distance. I'm not going to touch it, though, because I think you'll agree with me. Minus 105, not exactly that attractive.
No, I got nothing there. No, nothing.
I'm just saying you have the same odds for a knockout to inside the distance. So you also win by disqualification, or you win by a couple other methods in there.
Right.
Not bad, but not enough to get me to actually go to the window. But no, other than that, really just not that sexy of a card. It's just the way it is. I did hear that there was some information about Jared Gordon, which is pretty interesting, as he is going to be without pretty much all of his coaches. because of COVID. So he might be going into the fight blind from the actual corner perspective. So that's something to keep in mind for handicapping as he ends up taking on Chris Fishgold. No interest. I'm going to pass, but something to keep in mind. If you want to back Gordon, he might be by himself in the corner. So just factor.
And the problem with that is Fishgold is a submission specialist. So a lot of times that corner really becomes helpful when trying to set up counters to keep you out of getting submitted there on the ground. So I think that could come into play. I think that's going to be a piece of perhaps crucial advice that's going to be missing from Gordon's corner. And, I think Fishgold by submission perhaps deserves a look there.
I agree. I was looking at that yesterday, and I didn't even see the line up. I do know that even though Fishgold is a submission guy, Gordon does train in the Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu camp, and Gracie is one of the greatest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu camps and stuff on the planet. So he does, even though I would say he doesn't have many submission wins, he has 0 submission losses, and he trains in a very, very highly skilled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submission camp. So I think his defense should be at least, I'd say, average worst case scenario.
Right.
I do agree if you don't have coaches telling you, grab the leg, watch the arm, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I definitely think that could cause some issues. But looking at the actual lines here, trying to see if I could actually find the submission outcome here. Fishgold by submission is plus 260, which is, I guess, decent for a plus 120 underdog, but the fact that the favorite here in Gordon has never lost by submission caused me to pass on that one.
Okay. All right. Good.
It pretty much covers it. I don't really have much else to say.
Okay. Very good. And sometimes, we talk about this a lot. It's one of the worst things you can do sometimes as a sports bettor is to force plays. Yeah. And if you don't, if you're an action player, you want to turn it on, and sometimes I fall into this trap. I'll be the first to admit it.
If you're an action player, just do live betting.
Well, yeah, and that's always an option too. The problem is for a lot of us, especially watching on ESPN, we're watching through our computers. So live betting becomes a less viable option.
Well, this is on ESPN.
Right. What I'm saying is not everybody has ESPN. If you're watching from your phone or if you're watching from the ESPN app, you're going to be on a delay.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm simply just saying if you're an action junkie and you're looking to bet on every fight, you could easily just wait until, I don't know, the first round, potentially get a good underdog price. There are a lot of options for you.
Right.
But for a professional betting show, which we are.
Right.
I'm not going to throw every single play out there.
Right. When you're trying to identify advantage situations, positive EV, things are going to give you the big score. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'd rather go 3-2 for plus 2 units than 5-4 for plus 0.1.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's and I'll be the first to admit there's a lot of times when I'm watching UFC because it's the only thing on. I'm going to scale my unit size back.
Of course,
and because I am going to be playing everyone just to have action, which is something as a professional bettor you never advise people to do. But if you want to
scale back on it, then it's fine.
Yeah, if you want to take a small percentage of your bankroll, a quarter of what you would normally bet or whatever, it ain't the end of the world. Let's face it, guys. To a certain extent, we're all junkies. We want action. I
mean, especially over the last 4 months, I feel like
that's what I'm saying. And there's been such a dearth of action, things to bet on. So, yeah, I ain't mad at you. You want to play every fight, but yeah, getting a feel for it and then making a live play. If you don't have a good feel going into it, that'd be a good one.
Especially with the very, very shoddy judges that we've had over the past couple of months. There, you never know. I've heard a lot of people on Twitter and some other betting outlets complaining that one fighter on the live money line was minus 800 late in the third round, and they lose by controversial split decision. You wonder what exactly happened there. And the answer is the judges go rogue. It is what it is. So maybe
it happens.
You there.
All right, very good.
But
all right, buddy.
You want me to just recap? You want me to just do a late recap of the plays I have?
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, so I got Shore in either round 1 or round 2 at minus 118 on Fox Bet. I got Murphy by decision at plus 320 on FanDuel. I got Chimayo by second round submission at plus 650. That one's for half a unit. I got Al-Hazan fight to end in the first 60 seconds for half a unit at plus 800 on Fox Bet. And I also have Kattar in the main event inside the distance at plus 115 on Fox Bet. Now, do you want to go through your plays?
Yeah, I've just got the couple there. I've got the Tim Elliott minus 124. I like the his shot with a little better experience, and I like Kattar by knockout plus 180 anytime during the fight.
Okay.
All right, so and there we go. We'll forever be wondering what Willie would have taken, but
correct. And we got golf for tomorrow, so
we do have golf for tomorrow.
And Tiger in the premises.
Tiger, there is a Tiger spotting, so we'll be talking about that. The Tiger King has returned. That'll be interesting as they go to the Memorial, which is kind of the, of course, it's not a major, but it's kind of one of those, kind of one of the second tier tournaments. I would say one of the better tournaments throughout the season that players you do send.
It's one of the best non-majors during the course of the year.
Right, exactly. So, good. We'll be, along with like the TPC, Sawgrass, and things like that. It's right up there. So we'll be anxious to take a look at that. The same course they played last week. Of course, they're in Dublin, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And we'll be back to talk a little bit of golf mañana, man. So
looking forward to it. I already started breaking it down. I already have some plays in mind, but I'll get rid of some. I'll prepare my final play sheet, and I'll be ready for tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining today, buddy. Thanks for doing double duty, covering Willie as
I covered all the fights anyway, so
I hope he's okay. Hope Willie's okay. Everything's all right down there in Mississippi. So
I don't know if his Wi-Fi potentially blew out. He had to get pretty good Wi-Fi for the last couple of weeks, maybe.
Yeah, he'd been running good. And then you never know. So
bad beat on the road.
So until tomorrow, I am Scott Steen. He is Scott Reichel. This is Today in Sports Betting. Of course, it'll be tomorrow in sports betting. But we'll take a look at the Memorial there from Dublin, Ohio, and we'll be have a little golf play for you. We've done well in our golf props, our straight ups. Of course, we talked about it's very difficult to hit. We've been close.
I hit the one straight up that I didn't give out on the show. So fun stuff. I had the Shambo 2 weeks ago.
That means nothing.
Correct. It meant money in my bank account, but it didn't money in your bank account. But last week was pretty good, and hopefully we'll both hit some home runs or hit some hole-in-ones, I should say, with our props.
That'd be a good thing. All right, buddy. Well, have a good one, everybody. Don't forget to check out winnersandwhiners.com and our sister site over there at statsalt.com. Great articles on each and every event going on, including the golf, UFC. You want to find out a little more in-depth look at it, you certainly can go over there and check those out as well. But for now, for myself, for Scott, we'll be looking forward to doing the golf tomorrow. Everybody have a great day today. Make a little money. Got a little soccer to bet on. You got a little UFC coming up tomorrow night. So any opportunity you can to go out there and make that money, go ahead and do it. And we'll be looking forward to talking to you tomorrow. All right. So take care. Be well. Be healthy. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be back and do it all again. All right. Have a great day.